Now, we have a great treat for you tonight. I mention Barney Frank once or twice. Okay, once or twice almost nearly every day. But in a moment, you are going to hear from himself, the chairman of the Financial Services Committee. He's going to be talking exclusively to the Glenn Beck program. We asked Chairman Frank if he'd be willing to launch a congressional investigation of ACORN. Blood will shoot out of your eyes. First, I want to take a look at the organization that he's in cahoots with and why many inside the organization say an investigation is long overdue. Why do ACORN members want the books opened? Why do they feel they need answers? Their efforts started after the founder and CEO of ACORN, Wade Rathke, admitted to helping cover up his brother Dale's $1 million embezzlement from the company. Law enforcement was never notified. Why? Instead, an agreement was negotiated with the Rathke family to pay the money back. No one outside the organization would know about the theft as long as the money was returned. Why? $210,000 was repaid by 2008 until a whistleblower forced ACORN to disclose the embezzlement to the public. Then, ACORN's board was forced to take action, firing both Wade and Dale, making some inquiring members ask for access to the books that Dale Rathke had control of. But suddenly, a white knight came rushing in and paid the rest of Dale's stolen $1 million. Why? The donor wanted to remain anonymous. How come? Word got out. In a statement issued this past September, the CEO of the Tides Foundation, Drummond Pike, admitted that he was the money man. Pike says, quote, "I'm the anonymous person who had purchased from ACORN the collectible debt that was restitution for a terrible misappropriation of funds 8 years ago. The story is true." Pike wasn't family. Apparently, there was nothing to gain. So why would he give almost $1 million as restitution? Why? He says he personally wrote that check, quote, "to assist the incoming leadership of ACORN as they work to improve their governance and financial practices." But ACORN insiders say Pike didn't want a forensic audit of ACORN's books because he wanted to protect his own interests and those of other ACORN donors. So who is Drummond Pike, and what is the Tides Foundation? Well, the Tides Foundation is a major source of revenue for some of the most extreme groups on the left. Tides was set up as a public charity that receives money from their donors to be funneled to the recipients of their choice. Because many of these recipient groups are quite radical, the donors reportedly don't want to be publicly linked with them. So Tides can pass their money along to the intended beneficiaries without the paper trail. One of Tides' most generous donors, Massachusetts Senator John Kerry's wife, Teresa Hines Kerry. She has reportedly given the foundation more than $8 million over the years. Also, liberal giant George Soros and California mortgage billionaires Herb and Marion Sandler. By the way, Time magazine named the Sandlers in its recent list of 25 people to blame for the financial crisis. And guess who's currently serving on the foundation's board of directors? The one and only Wade Rathke. So ACORN treated embezzlement as an internal matter, and they didn't notify the authorities. And when it was forced to disclose it to the public, big money stepped in to make the mess go away. Pike once told the Chronicle of Philanthropy, "Anonymity is very important to most of the people we work with." The question is, why? Why is it so important? Many ACORN insiders want answers, and so do we. Well, we would like somebody on Capitol Hill to help. Barney Frank is on the Hill today. We sent Fox News reporter Griff Jenkins out on assignment to see if anyone in Congress will be willing to investigate ACORN, and we decided we'd start with Barney Frank. Griff joins me now. Hi, Griff.
Hey, Glenn, how are you, man? That's right. ACORN has received upwards of $53 million in federal grants since the early 90s, and they stand to get perhaps upwards of $8.5 billion, according to one figure. So what better place to find out whether ACORN should be eligible to compete for that federal money than the chairman of the House Financial Services Committee, Chairman Barney Frank. Here's what happened when I asked him the question. Mr. Chairman, Griff Jenkins, Fox News. Quick question. Would you be willing to call for an investigation of ACORN or maybe hold hearings to determine if they're, eligible for taxpayer dollars?
Jurisdiction. As you know, the Bush administration, every year of the 8 years of the Bush administration, gave them well over $1 million for housing counseling. And nobody has shown me any sign that any of that federal money was misspent. So, I think people are being somewhat unfair to President Bush and his secretaries of HUD, who consistently funded ACORN for, as I said, a total of about $14 million during the Bush years. If someone has evidence that the money that President Bush made available was misspent in those programs, that's what I have jurisdiction over. I don't have any jurisdiction over election activities by another ACORN organization. But if anyone has any evidence, and no one has sent it to me yet, that the Bush administration ignored the misspending of that $14 million, I'll look at it.
Yes, sir. But would you hold hearings or call for an investigation?
If I get information of it. There's nothing to hold hearings on now. I think you're being very unfair to President Bush.
Glenn, I'm not sure how I'm being unfair to President Bush, but I get the point. Chairman Frank is not going to call for an investigation or hearings. I also asked Chairman John Conyers of the Judiciary Committee. He stood by his statement that they're not going to do it. No word from Chairman of the Oversight and Government Reform Committee, that being talking to Chairman Ed Towns, although I am hearing from the ranking Republican, they're interested in finding out a little more of ACORN's practices.
Okay, I tell you what, we're going to try to gather up that information from insiders at ACORN so you can present it to Barney Frank. Thanks very much.